And now the next case.
All party in the matter of Staves versus Lee. Step forward, please.
24-year-old music manager Shamika Staves is suing recording artist Aqua Lee for breach of contract and studio costs. Aqua says her contract is with Shamika's husband.
Miss Staves, your husband signed Miss Lee to a contract, according to the complaint that I read, and that contract was for her to sing for his new record label, and she was his first talent, and also to act as manager. And then he was shipped out to Iraq.
Yes,
he was in the reserves. I assume he was in the reserves.
No, he was active duty all along.
And according to you, you spent a lot of money to do things, get orchestrations, et cetera, for her, and she refused to cooperate with you. And Miss Lee says she didn't sign on with you. She signed on with your husband. When did you sign this contract?
February the 7th.
May I see it, please? So is what you're telling me that your husband was in active duty in February of 2004, is that right?
That's correct.
So he was doing this sort of on the side?
That's correct. And as far as me just taking over, Your Honor?
Just 1 second. Okay, well, you cannot enforce the management agreement because that was not a contract that you entered into.
My husband left me power of attorney.
I don't care whether he left you power of attorney. I don't care what he left you. That was a personal contract entered into between the two of them. Just as Miss Staves, she couldn't get somebody, this nice lady sitting over here in the audience, right here, and say, well, I'm going to substitute her as a singer for my management contract.
Okay, I
right?
understand.
Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
It's a personal relationship. All right, so tell me, what terms did she not perform?
Well, she agreed to allow me to conduct the business for her.
How did you do that?
Absence. They did that over the phone. My husband called her, my husband and Aqua, they communicated with each other.
That's hearsay.
Well then, Aqua...
That's hearsay. You understand that that's hearsay?
Yes, I understand that.
You can't tell me what your husband and she discussed over the phone.
Well then, they gave the phone. I've also had conversations with Aqua prior to my husband leaving.
Okay.
That it was acceptable to her that I would step in his place. In fact, when Aqua got out of school, she was going to come stay in my house for the summer so that I would be able to continue to conduct business and make appointments for her.
Ms. Daves, what did you do? What money did you spend?
Total $2,000.
I know. For what?
Production, advertising, travel, studio time.
Okay. When did you start to have difficulty with her?
After we had a situation to where she was supposed to sing for a recording artist over the phone. She didn't get to sing over the phone to him, and I was rude to Aqua. We had some personal differences, and ever since then, she stopped calling me.
Okay, well, you know, is that, so far that's correct? She was rude to you? You stopped cooperating?
She got an attitude with me, and it hurt my feelings, and I felt like I didn't want to work with her because of that.
All right, I don't have to take any more time with this case because I've already explained to you that the management agreement is something that you cannot take over, even if you have your husband's power of attorney.
But since
your recording,
company...
listen to me, your recording contract specifically provides that any dispute pursuant to this contract, you've read the contract?
Yes, ma'am.
What does it say?
That it needs to be discussed in arbitration.
That is correct. You cannot take it to court. In the event of a dispute between the company and the artist, such disputes shall, not may, but shall, which means you must, shall be settled by binding arbitration in the city of New York. Did you, in fact, take this case to the American Arbitration Association?
In New York?
Anywhere?
I didn't go to arbitration. I filed a claim in Texas.
Well, what did they tell you when you filed the claim in Texas?
It's still pending.
Well, they're going. You know what they're going to tell you? I'll give you a brief course in contracts. If you're seeking to enforce the terms of a contract, you can enforce some and not others, right?
Right.
Your contract provides that your first step that you must take is to go before the American Arbitration Association in New York City. Do I make myself clear?
Yes.
Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Normally, two adults should be able to get past something like that.
The way she got an attitude with me really hurt my feelings, and I just didn't feel comfortable working with her anymore.
She wants to base her uncooperation because I was rude. Well, then she's going to have a lot of surprises in the entertainment industry.
I mean, people get attitudes with me all the time, but she really hurt my feelings.
Window salesman Vernon Lawson is suing his ex-girlfriend's neighbor, office services technician Linda Crescent, for damaging his car with a squeegee. Linda says she was defending herself against an irate Vernon.
Find the courtroom, please. Now this is case number 227 on the calendar in the matter of Lawson versus Crescent. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
What's your name?
Judith Savaggio.
Savaggio, are you the girlfriend?
Yes, I'm his friend.
Good. Miss Savaggio, where do you live?
Bakersfield, California.
And where does Miss Crescent live?
She is my next door neighbor.
And how long have you lived there?
6 years, just over.
And how long have you lived there?
42 years.
And how long have you and Mr. Lawson been friends?
Off and on for about 5 years.
More recently, how long on?
Several months.
And when you say you're friends, she says he's your boyfriend. Would that be true?
There would have been a time I would have used that term, yes, Your Honor.
Maybe not now.
Correct.
And do you rent your home or do you own it?
I rent.
Do you rent or own?
I own.
Mr. Lawson, this is what this lawsuit is about. It is your claim that the defendant caused damage to your car with a squeegee.
That's correct.
And it is your claim that you did so purposely.
Absolutely.
Because you were involved in some sort of an altercation with her. She says she was merely defending herself. But I want to go back a little bit because I've read your complaint very carefully. Your complaint says that you and Mrs. Savaggio were boyfriend and girlfriend, and that she was having some trouble with Miss Crescent. Is that true?
Yes, Miss Crescent chopped off some limbs of a tree.
Just a second. The answer would be yes, you were having trouble. When did the trouble with Miss Crescent begin?
It was approximately the first week of June of last year.
June of 2003.
Correct.
Now, prior to June of 2003, had you been reasonable neighbors with each other?
To a degree, yes.
Fine. And then something happened. According to what I read from Mr. Lawson, she cut off some limbs of a tangerine tree and left them on your lawn. Something like that.
She would have had to pick them up and throw them over my fence.
Just a second. That's what it was about. Mr. Lawson says that in retaliation for that, he knew that Miss Crescent objected to his parking his car in front of her house. So he decided to irritate her by parking his car in front of her house permanently. That's what you say in your complaint, correct?
Until such time.
That's what you say in your complaint. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And then what happened, Mr. Lawson?
I had left it there for a couple of days, Judge, and then I drove to
Why did you leave it there for a couple of days?
Because she had failed to remove the branches that she placed over on Judith's property.
What does that have to do with you?
Well, it was upsetting Judy.
Just a second. Just a second. If it was upsetting Judy, don't you think that she's intelligent enough to take care of it herself?
Yes, she's intelligent enough to take care of it herself.
Right. So you instead decided to make things worse between these two neighbors. You sort of sauntered in and said, I'm going to show my muscle because I'm a mature, thoughtful individual who, instead of trying to ameliorate a situation, I'm going to exacerbate a situation. So you, as an irritant, parked your car in front of her house. Now, after you did that, Mr. Lawson, tell me what happened.
Well, Your Honor, I had drove over to an appointment in my other vehicle.
Oh, just a second. So you have two cars?
Absolutely. I have a pickup truck and a sedan.
Good. And I assume that at the time, you also had your own apartment.
That is correct.
So what you're telling me, Mr. Lawson, is that you left, despite the fact that you lived elsewhere, you used the front of her house as a parking lot for your pickup truck.
No, Your Honor. That property is on a corner, and I use a side lot which is completely out of her visibility all the time on the other street.
So when you said here, I decided to begin parking my car in front of her house, although I know it irritated her, that was a lie.
I know I park it in front of her house because it's not illegal to park in front of her house. It's a city street. It's owned by the public. I pay taxes.
Okay, so tell me what happened after you parked one of your two vehicles in front of her house all the time, sir.
Okay, well, I had driven, Your Honor, over to an appointment, and after returning over to Judy's house, which I visit all the time.
How much all the time, Mr. Lawson? Every day?
Every day.
3 times a week?
Yes.
Every day. So you returned to her house. And what time was it that you returned to her house after an appointment, Mr. Lawson?
It's approximately midday, 12, 1 o'clock.
Okay, and what did you find when you got there?
When I got there, I found that there was 3 screens from Linda that were leaning up against my pickup truck that was parked at the curb.
What did you do when you saw the 3 screens that were leaning against your truck?
I got out of my car and I went over to the passenger side of the pickup truck that had the screens, noticing that Linda was all the way over there next to her house, the windows that she was squeegeeing, and I grabbed one of the screens and I threw it out in the middle of the street.
You grabbed one or all 3?
I believe I got to the second one before she bolted away from the windows, walking 30, or not walking, but running 35 feet away from this truck, and started chasing me down the street with a squeegee in hand like she wanted to bury it in my back.
Well, Mr. Lawson, why did you, instead of taking the screens and throwing them in the middle of the street, why didn't you just take them and throw them off your car?
Well, I probably could have done that.
Well, I'm just asking you why you didn't, sir.
Because she wouldn't pick up the limbs that she threw over the fence in Judy's house.
How old are you?
I'm 53, Your Honor.
Grow up. Don't you have better things to do than to create havoc? You're going to move on. She's been living in her house for 42 years. She's been living in her house for 6 years. You think she needs you to create more trouble?
No, Your Honor.
Right. All right. First of all, let's get to these limbs. I want you to tell me what happened to these limbs of the tangerine tree, because I want to hear it from you, and it better be the truth. Got it?
Got it.
Good. Let's go.
I trimmed the leaves that were, the branches that were hanging over into my yard.
Okay.
And
just a second. So the tree is in her backyard.
front yard.
Front yard. And you trimmed the branches.
Correct.
And what did you do with the branches after you trimmed them?
I set them very neatly by the fence.
On her side?
Correct.
Why?
Your Honor. Because I had no room in my garbage can to put them.
Well, that's wrong, my dear. That's wrong. That's not neighborly. That's the wrong thing to do. You have perfect right to trim the branches that are hanging over your side of the property. You trim them and you cart them away. And if you don't have room in your garbage can, you wait until you do, because I assume that they have been growing for a long time. And if 1 week you don't have room, wait for the next week. So that was the wrong thing to do, correct?
Correct.
So who asked you to remove them?
No one, Your Honor.
Did you ask her to remove?
I wrote her a letter.
Did you receive her letter?
Yes, I did receive.
And what did the letter say?
In essence, the letter said that if I didn't remove them, that she was going to sue me. I called the owner, and he removed them.
When did he remove them?
Saturday morning.
So how long were they there in the yard?
2 or 3 days.
Is that right?
About a week.
Okay, but the owner of the premises that you rent ultimately removed
Yes,
them.
his son lives a half a block away. His son came and did it.
Fine. Terrific. So that's over. Now, how much after that incident did we have this parking in front?
The parking in front, the limbs were cut about on Monday. I'm not sure. I didn't see her cut them. I think it was Monday we discovered them. I sent her the notice on...
When?
The next day, as soon as I noticed.
Tuesday.
Well, on the following Thursday, I had visitors coming to my home.
Following Thursday.
2 days later.
Oh, that Thursday.
That Thursday.
Just a couple of days later.
A couple of days later. I had visitors coming up the walk to my house, And she chose to scream and yell at them that she was not going to move those. And I didn't think it was appropriate for her to start screaming at my visitors about these leaves.
Okay. Did you scream at somebody?
I never saw anybody come up any walk that entire week except for Vernon, who chose to park in front of my house and scream at me.
So you had an altercation with him after he started to park in front of your house?
Correct.
Is that right?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today, Lawson says his ex-girlfriend's neighbor, Linda Crescent, damaged his car by hitting it with a squeegee.
Now tell me about the squeegee.
I was in front of my house washing and drying my windows, and I had a squeegee in my hand when he came screaming around the corner in his car and parked directly behind the pickup. He got out of the car clearly enraged with his fists clenched and came at me. And I turned to see him coming at me. And he grabbed one of the screens, threw it out in the street, and I went out to retrieve the screen knowing that there might be a car coming.
Why did you put the screens on his truck?
Because it was there. It was convenient. It was sitting right there.
Sounds to me like a lot of people behaving badly. A lot of grown-up people who don't have enough to do. That's what happens when you have too much leisure time. How many hours a week do you work?
30 hours a week.
How many hours a week do you work?
40.
I think you ought to work more. You did the wrong thing, Mr. Lawson. You did the wrong thing, Miss Grice. Now you want to show me a picture. I'm dying to see it.
Pictures, Your Honor.
I'm dying to see it, Mr. Lawson.
Well, this one right here for evidence, Your Honor, shows my truck in respect to the windows where she had to pass the bushes and a tree in her front yard to lean up the screen.
Let me explain something to you. I understand that she did the wrong thing. Okay. I said that. Did I agree with you? Mr. Lawson, I'm an ecumenical abuser.
Yes, ma'am. This is the wonderful dents to my car that she did with her squeegee since she couldn't get me.
This is the tree she cut, fence with clippings behind. Okay, so she knows she's not supposed to do that. That's not a neighborly thing to do. She wants to clip it and cut it, clips it and cuts it and put it in her trash. Right?
Correct.
Say sorry.
I'm sorry.
Perfect.
I accept that.
You accept her apology?
Yes.
Great. All right, now all you have to do is get rid of him, and then you're all set.
I'm working on that, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, I'm going to suggest that you get the dents out of your car for $100, sir, because I'm not giving you any more than that. She lost her temper. She shouldn't have done that. You acted badly. You have to pay for that. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $100. Listen, she's going to be your neighbor. He's going to be gone. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Linda gives a new dimension to Love Thy Neighbor.
This man is a very dangerous man.
Well, she acts very inappropriately toward the neighbors.
He had me arrested. He had asked the police to cuff me and take me to jail.
I am a Christian, and the Bible tells me to see that my neighbor lives beside me in peace. The Bible also tells me that it's a fool who despises their neighbor. So, Linda, I love you.
Thank you.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Allen versus Caldwell. Step forward, please.
Nurse Karen Allen is suing her former pet sitter, 21-year-old ER clerk Tiffany Caldwell, for rent and for the cost of a Welsh Corgi. Karen says while she was away, her dog was euthanized.
Miss Allen, according to your complaint, you hired Miss Caldwell to house and dog sit for you. You were going to be gone for several months, and you had to leave your dog at home. The arrangement was that she would stay in your house for how many months?
It was going to be from March of 2004 until August of 2004.
Unfortunately, when you came home in August, you found that your dog had been euthanized.
Yes, ma'am.
And your house trashed.
Yes, ma'am.
And you want Miss Caldwell to now pay you for rent and for your dog.
Yes,
I don't know how you set a price on that. What kind of dog did you have?
I had an AKC registered Pembroke Welsh Corgi.
How long had you had the dog?
Approximately about a year and a half.
Boy or a girl?
A male.
Where is your home?
In Knoxville, Tennessee.
And where were you going for 5 months?
I was going to work as a travel nurse in Newark, New Jersey.
Is this your son?
Yes, ma'am.
He was going with you?
No, he stayed with his father during the 5 months.
And where does his father live?
In Morristown, Tennessee, about 40 miles away from Knoxville.
How did you find Miss Caldwell?
A common friend of ours that we both share suggested her, said that she was looking for something, and she worked for the same hospital system I worked at in Knoxville, and it's a very choosy hospital system, so I felt that, you know, they've checked her out, so they've checked me out, so we should probably be a pretty good fit. We met and talked, and she agreed to watch my dog and live in the house while I was gone.
Is that correct so far, Ms. Caldwell?
Yes, ma'am.
So she moved into the house?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you check on the house and the defendant during the 5 months that she was there?
Yes, ma'am, I did. I was home 2 or 3 times to take Matthew to hockey events. I would fly in for the weekend, stop by the house, check on the dog. Everything seemed fine. And I would call her frequently. So it was phone tag sometimes, but I would always get a message back, everything was fine. In July, I did call to check on my dog, and she told me that mosquitoes were bad in the area and that he had a few mosquito bites, but he was fine.
You remember that conversation in July?
Actually, it was flies, and she said that it had happened yearly, that his ears would get irritated from where the flies would bother him when he would stay outside.
Why was he staying outside?
The agreement between her and I was, since I worked at the time 10-hour shifts, and she had worked 12 when she lived there, that the dog would, of course, stay outside because couldn't leave him inside that long. And there was a lead that he was attached to. He had a house, he had food, he had water. When I was home, he was in the house with me. When I was at work, he was out in the yard.
When would you leave for work?
It differed. Sometimes I'd work morning shift, sometimes I'd work graveyard shift, evening shift.
You mean when you worked the night shift, you would leave the dog outside all night?
Yeah, that's when he would stay outside nightly.
Was that your agreement with her?
He was not supposed to be outside all night. He was crate trained. He had a nice large roomy crate in the house, and a lot of times, even when I was at work, if I felt the weather was not acceptable and it wouldn't be good for him to be outside, he wouldn't go outside.
Were you sleeping at the house every night?
For the first month or so that I had moved in, I did, and then I got a phone call from Karen telling me that the landlord had told her that he wasn't happy with the fact that someone else was staying there, because I had occasionally had a friend that I worked with stay with me, and he apparently wasn't happy about any of the situation.
Well, he wasn't unhappy with you staying in the house, just with a friend.
Well, the conversation was it was a general, he wasn't happy about any of the situation. He didn't like it. He apparently wasn't happy with Karen being away and somebody else being in the house at all.
Ms. Caldwell.
I made it very specific that I didn't want any strangers in my house, Your Honor.
Right. Don't give me baloney. Did the landlord complain to you that there was this guy in the house?
Yes, ma'am, he did.
And did you tell her that?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
So you told her not to have the guy in the house?
Correct.
Right. That's different than you not staying in the house. That just says tell your boyfriend not to stay there. There's a difference, Miss Caldwell. So if she told you the boyfriend couldn't stay there, you decided to stay at his place? Is not an answer.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that what you did?
Sometimes.
Okay. So when you stayed there sometimes, that means that you went to work. And when you say you went to work, you left the dog outside. And then when you went to your boyfriend's house, where did you leave the dog?
The dog would stay out.
So that the dog would be out sometimes for 24 hours at a time?
Sometimes, yes, ma'am.
That's irresponsible, Miss Caldwell. Very irresponsible. When you make an arrangement with somebody and you find yourself a boyfriend, then you call her up and you say, listen, I can't keep that part of the bargain because I now have a boyfriend. And it's very important that I sleep with him. Because if I don't sleep with him, I'll die. So you're going to have to find somebody else to take care of the dog. You don't just disregard your responsibility and allow the dog to stay outside for 24 hours at a time. We understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
You think I'm right?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you think you did the wrong thing?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Because that's not what your answer says. I read your answer and you said she told me I couldn't stay there. I said, gee, that doesn't make sense. Here's the woman who hires you to stay in her house. Why would she tell you you couldn't stay there? She didn't tell you you couldn't stay there. She said your boyfriend couldn't stay there. When you got home in August, what did you find, Miss Allen?
We arrived home on August the 13th, Matthew and I. We drove into our driveway, and the dog was not outside. It was a very hot day, and so I thought, well, maybe she had placed the dog inside. But somehow I had this sinking feeling that moms have in their stomach. We got into the house, called for the dog. There was no dog. There was a horrible stench in the house where garbage had been piled up, dirty dishes with water that had like 1/4 of an inch of mold on the top layer of the water. Immediately I said to my son Matthew, I said, we need to go to the dog shelter. We got in the car and went to the shelter, which is 1 mile from my home, and walked in and asked if anybody had turned in a Welsh Corgi. A young man had said, we received a Corgi. What kind is it? I told him it was a Pembroke. He asked me if it was tricolored. I told him yes. He says, I think we have your dog. And of course I was ecstatic. We get back into the back. They couldn't find the dog. They asked me to wait in reception. About 10 or 15 minutes later, a woman walked out who was the manager. She was visibly upset. And she said, I am so sorry to tell you this, but at the same time that you walked in, we were euthanizing your animal, we believe. They asked if we wanted to see the body and identify it, and I said yes. I had to know.
And what about the mess that was left in the house?
There was
not an answer.
There was dirty dishes in the house.
Why?
I left because I was upset. The dog wasn't there. I couldn't find him. I couldn't get.
You left the dishes earlier. You left the dishes early. You didn't leave the dishes then. You left the mess in the house before. Why?
There's no excuse.
Where are you living now?
I'm living in an apartment.
And how much rent do you pay?
$360 a month.
$360
Yes,
times
ma'am.
5. That's $1,800. You had a bartering agreement with her. Your agreement with her was that in exchange for watching the dog and taking care of the house, you could live in her home rent-free. You didn't live up to your end of the agreement. So you have to pay a rent, right? Sounds right to me. That's $1,800. Now, you can't put a price on your dog, but there has to be some statement to this young lady that she can't take that kind of responsibility and just cast it out the window because she finds herself a boyfriend, right? I will put a price on it for the purposes of this litigation. The price that I'm putting on is $2,000. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $3,800. $1,800 for rent and $2,000 because she didn't take care of her responsibility. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
We walked in, they said they had him, we were ecstatic, and then to find out that they had just put him down, I mean, right as we walked in the door.
I didn't neglect the dog.
It was my best friend.
I feel really sad about that because I have a dog and I know what it's like.
It was just somebody I could always play with.
I had actually rescued this animal from a neglectful household.
We all learn from mistakes, so I know not to go into a situation like this again.
He was just a joy.
I just don't know what kind of human could do this.
All parties in the matter of Julian versus Hassel, step forward, please.
20-year-old security officer Jennifer Julian and her husband John are suing their former friend, 19-year-old sales clerk Jamie Hassel, for an unpaid loan to retain a lawyer. Jamie says Jennifer gave her the money so she could get custody of her son.
Mr. and Mrs. Julian, you claim a loan to the defendant, who used to be a very dear friend of yours. The defendant said this was money that she received from you, was money that was a gift that she needed. She needed it for a lawyer, and there was never any discussion of repayment. How long have you and Mrs. Hassel been friends?
We've been friends for about 11 years.
And when you gave her money, where did the transfer of the money take place?
Actually, we went and got it from the bank. And
who's we?
Miss Hassel and I walked 22 blocks in downtown Austin to find a bank, because we went to like 3 or 4 different banks before we finally found one that would accept my credit card to get a cash advance.
So you took out a cash advance. Now tell me why.
Well, she needed the money for a lawyer, and she couldn't get the money for a couple of weeks from her trust fund.
What did you need the money for a lawyer for?
To get full custody of my son, to have his father sign over his rights.
How did you ask Miss Julian or Mr. and Mrs. Julian to help you?
Well, John and I never spoke of it, actually. Jennifer had taken me to the lawyer because I had an appointment with him that morning, and after the lawyer told me that he needed a $3,000 retainer, we sat in the room, and my mother and I were discussing it, how we were going to come up with the money, and Jennifer offered.
What did she say?
She said, well, I can go get it out of the bank. You know, me and her have been friends forever. We've supported each other through anything, and she was there. She's Aunt Jenny to Damien.
I don't care if she's Aunt Jenny. I don't care if she's Grandma Jenny. She said to you, I can go get the money out of the bank from the cash advance.
Yes, sir.
And what did you say?
I said, okay, and I went with it.
Just okay?
Yeah.
You didn't say to her, okay, if you do this, I'll pay you back?
Well, I mean, I said thank you. I wasn't rude about it.
That's not what I asked you. You mean you didn't say to her, if you do this for me, I'll pay you back as soon as I get the money? You didn't say that to her?
No, ma'am.
You just thought it was very nice of her to give you $3,000.
I mean, that's what we did for each other. We helped each other out through anything.
No, $3,000 is not 50 bucks. $3,000 is a big chunk of change, especially when she said to you, I don't have the money. I can take a cash advance out on my credit card. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How do you support yourself?
I have a part-time job right now.
Who supports you totally?
I live with my grandmother.
Where does your mother live?
With me.
Okay, let me hear your version of it, Miss Julian.
Well, she needed the money, and she couldn't get the money from her trust fund for, I think, 2 weeks. And
Is that what she told you?
That's what she told me.
Okay, go ahead.
So I called my husband, and he said, well, the only way that we'll agree to do this is if she agrees to pay any finance fees, any transaction fees, any fees that come up.
And she said?
She said, yes, absolutely, I'll pay anything.
What happened 2 weeks later?
She just told different stories every time I talked to her.
So why do you think that you should not pay back Mr. and Mrs. Julian?
Because to me, it was never a loan. I mean, if she would have asked me, hey, I need this back, sure. I mean, we could have made some agreement. But she knew at the time I didn't have a job, I was taking care of my baby, and we were there for each other, always. That's how our relationship went.
Better off without her, my dear. Not much of a friend. Anything you want to say, Mr. Julian?
Just that my wife had called and asked me if it would be okay to take the $3,000 out of the cash advance.
When she called you, did she tell you where she was?
Yes, I knew where they were before. Because the night before, they told me that this lawyer was going to take it and she could pay him later. I said, that's not going to happen. Lawyers don't work that way. So I was expecting it.
Miss Hassel, if you don't do the wrong thing, you don't have to cry. You got to do the right thing. If you borrow something and somebody treats you well and somebody's willing to be supportive, you're supposed to do the right thing. You're supposed to say to Mr. and Mrs. Julian, listen, I can't pay you back all at once. I'll pay you $100 a month, $25 a week. That's all I can afford, but I'm going to do it because I live with my mother and my grandmother. I'm working part-time. I'll work a little bit more part-time so that I can afford to give you $25 a week. $50. $50, however long it takes. You don't try to shirk your responsibility and do the wrong thing with a friend. Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She was avoiding me. She was going to people's places. I had to go and hunt her down.
I guess we just should have made a better agreement. Should have had something in writing.
We needed that money desperately.
I was there through anything that her family didn't approve of.
We used to do everything together.
Most of her family didn't approve of her marrying John, but I didn't care. She was my friend.
All parties in the matter of Amperan versus Lyle. Step forward, please.
Dental assistant Olivia Amperin is suing her former live-in boyfriend, business owner Alan Lyle, for the return of a barbecue pit and a chair and ottoman set. Olivia also claims Alan assaulted her 9-year-old son.
Miss Amperin, how long did you and the defendant live together?
15 months.
And he moved into your house?
Yes.
And you have children?
Yes, I do have 2.
How old are they?
12 and 9.
Was Mr. Lyle a reasonable companion with regard to the children?
No.
Okay. According to your complaint, there was an incident in September?
That's correct.
Involving one of your children. Was that the 12-year-old or the 9-year-old?
The 9-year-old.
Where you claim that Mr. Lyle hit him?
That's correct.
And you called the police and had him removed from the house. What day was that?
It was the 7th.
And then it is your claim that he came back into the house and he took some of your property. He took a barbecue pit, a chair, and a lamp. And you say that you purchased all these things, you
Yes.
paid for these things. Mr. Lyle says he only took what was his. And you also want some sort of damage because you say that he hit your 9-year-old son, slapped him.
That's correct.
So tell me what happened on September 7th.
It was in the evening. We had come home, myself and my 2 children. We drove up. The door to the front of the house was open. Everything was open. So we proceeded into the house, myself and my children, and I told them because of the situation that we were in, living with Alan Lyle, that just to go into your rooms, don't answer to him, just do what I ask you to do to avoid any confrontation. So they did so. As I proceeded into my bedroom, he was there with a duffel bag. I simply asked him a question as to where are you packing, where are you going? And he started telling me I have no right to ask him where he's going, whether he's coming for me to get the effing with my children, go over there, go sleep with your children, go sleep with your gay son. He's a mama's boy. He'll never amount to anything, and he just kept on with those things. So I went ahead and went out from the room to my son's bedroom, and I comforted him because he did hear these things. Alan then went outside to the garage, and I didn't tell you this before, but when I came home that night, he was under the influence of alcohol and marijuana, and I went outside. We began to argue. He turned around and said for me to get the hell back in the house, go to sleep, and he proceeded again to tell me that if you don't get back into the house, I'm going to go and tell your son how you brought him into the world with your legs spread open.
Nasty things.
Yes, nasty things. And he went into my son's bedroom and turned around and got him up against the bedroom corner and smacked him across the face 3 times. I told him for him to stop or I was going to call the cops.
Why did he do that?
He was angry with just the whole situation of how we were living.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Torrin says ex-boyfriend Alan Lyle owes for the return of a barbecue pit and a chair and ottoman set.
So you called the police?
Right, and I do want to say that when he was outside, I was very, very angry, and I know as a mother I shouldn't have told my son to curse at him, but my son did curse at him, and he didn't want to, and so I believe either that made him angry also with everything else, so he came into the house.
There had to be a reason, otherwise there would not be logic to it if he just walked inside and slapped him in the face. So he slapped him in the face because he cursed at you.
Right.
Is that what happened? Is that what happened?
Yes.
No. Now, tell me about the property. Let's start with the chair and the ottoman.
Right, he was given 1 day to come back.
Who purchased the chair and the ottoman?
I did, and I have receipts. And
May I see it, please? I'll hear you.
We both went together to Wix and purchased it. Her grandmother co-signed for her to get a Wix card. She picked out the couches. We went throughout the whole store. I sat in every chair. I'm a big guy. I took a picture of the chair. I
just want to know who paid for it.
It was purchased on her credit card, but after the fact that we went home, we moved into our place on May 1st. So we purchased our furniture in May.
Right.
Throughout the months, I had given her $100, $200 here and there, just for the chair. Everything else was on her account, the couches and stuff, because it was agreed that if I was to ever leave, that I would be taking the chair and the lamp.
How did you deal with your finances when you lived together?
She was working, I was working.
How did you take care of the rent?
She paid half, I paid half. I gave her half of the money, and then she would write the check for it in full because she had the checking account.
How much did you give her?
I gave her $750 in rent, and then the agreement was to pay half of the utilities, but I ended up paying all of them.
Did he give you $750 for rent?
Yes, he did.
Who paid for the food?
Both of us.
Is that right?
No, Your Honor. He wasn't working. When we moved into this house together, he was not working. I put down the down payment, and I put the first and last month.
When you moved into this apartment, sir, where were you working?
When we first moved in, I was doing freelance jobs, getting hired here and there to do subcontracting work.
How many months was it before you got a full-time job?
3.5 months. Middle of September.
I say November.
So May, June, July, August. So for 5 months you weren't working. Is that what you're telling me?
4.5 months, yes.
Did you ever make up your half of the rent for those 4.5 months?
Not fully.
Is not an answer.
No, not fully the $750. No.
Why not?
Well, because on top of that, I was taking care of her 2 kids, making sure they were maintained in school, doing their schoolwork. So childcare, basically.
Mr. Lyle, don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining. You give her back the ottoman and the chair. She bought it. She paid for it in May of 2003. You sitting in it doesn't make it yours, sir. Now, let's get to the barbecue. Who purchased the barbecue?
I did.
When?
In June. I was going to have a 4th of July barbecue. We didn't have a barbecue pit. I went out to Home Depot.
Let me see it.
Down at the bottom.
June 27th. Yes, sir, I'm hearing about the barbecue pit. Go.
She said that she purchased, that she went there by herself and bought it. That's incorrect.
No, she didn't say she went there by herself, sir.
Yes, she did.
It doesn't make any difference whether she went there with the whole Coxie army, sir, or whether she went there with Ringling Brothers.
That was a Father's Day gift to me.
You're not a father.
Yes, I am.
Oh, you're an idiot. Listen, I can't deal. The truth of the matter is, I really can't deal with
Just
it. I'm
because
going to tell you something.
I'm
I'm going to tell you something else.
I am a father.
I want to tell you something else, sir. I don't even trust you to return these items to her in good condition, because I think that you are a less than honorable human being. That's my sense of you, and I've only met you for a relatively short time. But those people who know me know that I'm a pretty good judge of character. You took these things that didn't belong to you. You sat in the chair, doesn't make it your chair. Because you grilled a hamburger, doesn't make it your barbecue. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,400. That's all. Out!
Thank you very much.
Oh, he's excused. You may step out.
She has 2 kids with separate different fathers, and they couldn't stand her either.
I mean, that's how he is, obnoxious.
She's violent. She has a temper. She likes to put her hands on men.
He's the one who has the police report on him stating that he hit my son, so he's the violent one.
I'm done and over. It's over and done with.
22-year-old restaurant manager Pirapon Pontupo is suing fellow motorist, paralegal April Montañez, for assaulting her during an incident of road rage. April claims Pirapon tried to spray her with mace.
Come to order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 365 on the calendar in the matter of Pontupo versus Montañez. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Ms. Pontupo, it is your claim that Ms. Montañez assaulted you during a road rage incident.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Montañez said she never touched you. Tell me where and when this happened.
On September 4th, 2004, me and my boyfriend, Michael Cheney, picked up my 16-year-old brother, and we were on our way to lunch.
Stop playing with your papers.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, now tell me what happened with the defendant.
I was in the middle lane trying to make a left turn into the shopping center where the restaurant is located on. And then I noticed a truck behind me, a dark blue Ford F-150. Miss Montañez was the driver of the truck, kept honking constantly at me, but I wasn't going to go because I wasn't going to get into a wreck. And then when I finally made the turn, she came really fast right after me. And I thought she was going to hit me. The front of her bumper was, like, right by my driver's side door. And my window was down at the time, and we exchanged a few profanities.
Who said what first?
I said, "What the?" And she started screaming all kinds of bad words at me. And then she reached into my car, grabbed me by my hair, and I felt a couple of punches, and I felt as if she was trying to pull me out of my car by my hair. My boyfriend saw that, and he said, "What is your F problem?" And then he got out of the car, ran around my car. Then Miss Montañez saw him coming toward her, so she ran back to her truck. And then my boyfriend then made the 911 call with the tech number, which I have the 911 transcript.
May I see it, please? Okay. Now, after she got back into the car, what did she do?
She parked on the front of the coin laundry and took out her laundry basket as if nothing happened and was going to start doing her laundry. And I was really shocked at the time. And then my boyfriend got back in the car, and then I can see the other 2 passengers in her truck, which is that lady and a man in the late 20s or early 30s in her passenger seat. I can see them trying to motion her back in the truck like it's not safe to be here anymore. And then they drove off, and I was so mad after I realized what happened to me. I start following them into the parking lot. And after I followed them to a quarter mile, my boyfriend is still on the 911 call at this time. He told me, he said, "It's okay, it's okay."
Okay, I got it. Now, did you seek medical treatment at any time for your injuries?
Yes.
Do you have a doctor's report?
No, I couldn't get in touch with him.
Okay. Tell me the way you felt.
I couldn't go to sleep. I couldn't lay on my left side because my head was hurting really bad, and I get the severe headaches.
How long did that last?
I would say a little bit over a week, and I couldn't go to work for a week because of it.
Okay, Miss Montanez, you want to tell me your version of the events, please?
We were on Singleton Road. It was my daughter's birthday that day, and I had to go to the laundromat to pick up some laundry. And there was a lot of cars going by at the moment when I stopped behind her, and I could see down because my truck is up high, and I could see down, and you could hear their music because it was kind of a warm day, and our windows were down. And I saw her talking to some individual, the passenger in the car, but I figured she just got caught up in her music, like all teenagers, and talking. So I honked my horn.
She's not a teenager.
Well, she looked like one at the time, but she was having a conversation. I honked my horn to let her know to go. She got mad. She stuck her hand out the window and did a profanity and called me an F&B. So I turned in before her into the shop.
Just a second. So what you did is you went around her.
Correct.
Keep going.
I pulled in front of her, and then I made the left turn and parked right in front of the laundromat because there's like an island right there where you can park. I got out of the truck. We started arguing, cursing at each other and everything, and my sister got out of the truck, and I was just like, ugh, I don't have time to deal with this, because I thought they were teenagers. So I turned around and was going to go in the laundromat, didn't even make it in the laundromat, and I heard my sister screaming, April, April, come on. And I turned around. When I turned around, I saw her boyfriend with rings in his nose, and just the way he looked, it scared me like a skinhead, and I'm like, oh my God, let's get in the car. So I jump in the truck. When I'm getting in the truck, she has her mace gun. We have a 14-day-old baby in the truck. It was myself, the baby, and then my sister. She's going through the window and she's doing all like this, but for some oddball reason, the mace had stuck. And my sister's rushing to roll the window up in case she did unstick it. And I said, oh my God, Stephanie, let's go. This is crazy. I can't believe this. I put my truck in reverse, and I backed out, and I went back the same way I come in. She come behind me and was following me, and I was going at a fast-paced speed to get away from her because it scared me.
When did you call the police?
I didn't call the police.
Right. You're telling me that someone tried to mace you in your car with a little tiny baby in the car, following you, a lunatic, and you never called the police?
Well, Your Honor, the reason why I didn't call the police is because I saw her boyfriend. When I was coming back to my truck, he was talking to the 911 officer.
Now, why
would you, write her tag number down.
You think they would call 911, and at the time they called the police, this is what they reported. They didn't know the person, got mad when they were making a turn into PL. She started screaming, went around, got out, and hit the female in the face and pulled her hair while screaming at the female. He didn't say they're having a screaming match. Didn't say anybody took out mace. Said, my girlfriend got punched in the face and got her hair pulled, and we don't know who this person is.
And the reason why I didn't call at the time, Your Honor, I did not have my cell phone. I was just nervous, and I was ready to get out of there.
Very good. Now, what?
I have a police report from this incident, and she told a totally different story.
Can I see the police report, please?
To the police. It's a totally different story.
You want to speak? You want to be very careful about what you say? You're the sister, right? Mm-hmm. You're the reason that they didn't follow up and press charges because you confirmed her story. Is that right? Mm-hmm. I want to tell you something. I'm smarter than the police. So you want to risk it? Get up. We understand each other? That requires an answer, yes or no?
Yes,
do you understand me?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you choose to stand up and testify, or would you like to remain in your seat?
I like to testify.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Bo says she was assaulted in a parking lot by fellow motorist April Montanez. Parapon says April tried to pull her out of her car by her hair.
Your name?
Stephanie.
You have a last name?
Imes.
You want to tell me the story?
It's pretty much what my sister said.
It's pretty much what your sister said?
We were going to Kroger's. She was in front of my sister. It was busy coming traffic. She beeped the horn. They had music.
How many times did she beep the horn?
It was like 2 or 3 times for her to go.
2 or 3 times? Your sister told me she beeped the horn only once.
It was like 2 or 3 times for her to go, like a rapid beep for her to go.
So it was 2 or 3 times, but it was like 1 time because it was so fast.
Yeah, it's like a rapid beep.
Right. Okay.
So they had the music going.
She beeped the horn. She leaned out of the car. She flicked her off and said some stuff, some cuss words. My sister went ahead because no cars were coming. She went in front of the lady. The car came in behind us. We turned to go towards the laundromat. My sister parked next to the little island. The laundromat is right across from the car. My sister got out of the car. They were arguing back and forth, cussing at each other. Then my sister, I kind of stood out to hear what was going on. My sister walked into the laundromat. I got back in the truck.
Did she carry anything into the laundromat?
I think she had...
Just a second. Look at me. Did she carry anything into the laundromat?
Yes.
What did she take out of the car?
It was some outfits, I guess. Yes.
Were the outfits in a basket?
No. No.
No basket?
No.
Just things in her hand? Now, what were you going to the laundromat for?
To pick up some clothes, and I think she had to dry clean the clothes that she had for the party. But at the time that I was waiting for my sister, this female came up to the truck as I got back in. She had some mace in her hand, and she was trying to
Was that before or after your sister hit her?
She didn't hit her.
Yes, she did. Sit down.
Your Honor.
Yes, she did. Oh, yes, she did. She hit her, and she pulled her hair. And she was really annoyed. You want to know why I know she was really annoyed? Because she had a 2-week-old baby in the car, and instead of sitting there waiting for traffic to move, she sped up around and went around a car that was waiting to make a left turn and pulled out in front of her. That's something that someone does who has no judgment. And they only do it when they're annoyed.
No, ma'am.
I didn't ask you anything. I listened to you. You know, there's an old expression. If it doesn't make sense, it's usually not true. If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. Because we've all drivers have been in the same situation that you were in. Sometimes you're behind somebody, and for some reason, they don't make a turn when they're supposed to. The arrow is green, they're waiting, they're talking, they're involved in the phone, they're listening, they're daydreaming, and you're looking and you're saying, that's the only shade of green there's going to be, right? Why isn't this person going? If you have a short fuse, you'll honk the horn a few times, and if that's not successful, you'll peel out, which is what you did. You peeled out with a baby in the car, went around her in order to make a left turn because you thought that there was a clear enough avenue of traffic so that you could make the turn. I believe everything that she says. You had a bad hair day.
No, ma'am, I did.
Oh, yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. Your sister got you back into the... Listen to me. And your sister got you back into the car because you both saw the boyfriend on the phone with the police. That's what you just told me. A moment ago you said, I didn't have to call the police because I knew they were calling the police. And if you knew they were calling the police, then you stay there and wait for the police. You don't take off. What you just told me was, I didn't call the police because of this mace, thinking fast, because he was calling the police. And if somebody is calling the police, and if you are a victim of a crime, you remain there with the doors locked, windows up, you don't get out to go and take your clothes into the dry cleaners.
Because none of this took place, Your Honor. We just argued. We had our words.
Madam, I don't
She tried to get me.
Madam, I don't believe you. And I don't believe
can I bring
your sister.
something else to evidence?
Absolutely. Show it to me.
Okay, I have a disposition of a hearing when she tried to file simple battery and simple assault charges, and we went to Gwinnett County courts, and they were dismissed for insufficient evidence as well. Because in the police report, it says that the police officer, there was no physical evidence on the victim other than a few strands of hair that was allegedly pulled out by the suspect.
Listen to me, madam. She's not saying you broke her skin.
But there would have been swelling or something for the officer. This never took place, Your Honor.
I'm telling you, it took place, madam.
It didn't.
Listen, because you got over on a cop, and because you got over perhaps on a district attorney, you and your sister, who wouldn't know the truth if it came up and slapped her in the face, doesn't mean that I have to believe you. Your story doesn't make sense. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I insulted her race. She insulted mine. She told me she was going to get me.
Defendants, it's worse than a piece of dog.
If you would have saw her boyfriend, like 6 foot tall, earrings, a dragon tattoo on his neck.
He's 6'2", but he also weighed as much as she does, which is they both weighed 185 pounds.
I was just in a rush to get out of there because in Atlanta, people have been shot by road rage.
It's just that she's a lying.
Case number 3069, Finley versus Neal. Please come forward.
Aaliyah Finley is suing her children's father, Jason Neal, for property damage and emotional distress.
Ms. Finley, you and the defendant have 3 children together.
Correct.
And it is your claim that he destroyed some property of yours and that he subjected you to emotional distress.
Yes.
I've had a few husbands who subjected me to emotional distress over the years. Comes with the territory sometimes. I looked at your claim, and I have to tell you, before we even get started, Ms. Finley, because I'm a very fair person, I was unimpressed with your claim, so I really don't know what you're doing here seeking $5,000. From January 7th, 2022, Mr. Neal, up until today's date, were you and the plaintiff intimate? Shh. Now, look at me. Is not an answer.
Aaliyah Finley claims her children's father, Jason Neal, owes for property damage and emotional distress.
So let's get to some facts, and I can move on with things that are current and important. Your 3 children are how old?
3, 2, and 1.
And the defendant is the father of all of those children?
Correct.
Did you ever live together?
No.
Who do you live with?
I live alone with my children.
You work?
Yes.
Who takes care of the children?
While I'm at work or
while you're at work?
They go to daycare in between my mother and my sister.
Who do you live with, sir?
I live in the wind.
You live in the wind?
Yes. Whatever direction it's going, that's
Always
where I'm
wanted
living.
to meet somebody who lived in the wind. Now, my dream has come true. Okay, he destroyed your property. When was the first time he destroyed your property, and what did he destroy?
He vandalized my car.
He vandalized your car?
Yes.
Month and year?
September 29th, 2021.
And what have you been doing since September of 2021? We're now 2 years later.
During that time, my father had died, so it was a lot going on. I have to deal with the death of my father. I was pregnant, and as well, like, my father's from Texas, so I had to travel.
Well, you've had 2 children with him since he vandalized your car.
No, I did not.
1?
1. I was pregnant with our last child when he vandalized my car.
Your child is 1?
She's 16 months. I was pregnant with her.
What else did he do? Oh, by the way, did you drive that car?
Yes, that was my personal car.
Do you still have it?
Yes.
You still have it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you fix it?
No, it was $4,500 to fix the radio.
Well, he's not paying you $4,500 for something that happened 2 years ago, madam. What's next?
After that, he broke my phone.
Month and year that he broke your phone?
It was at our baby shower. It's probably like I'm gonna say like January 2022.
Well, now that's 1.5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And you managed to have a baby shower.
Yeah.
Right? So you had a baby shower, and that was after the car was vandalized.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And tell me about the phone. 30 seconds or less.
Okay, so basically, with the phone, I was having a dispute with a friend, and I guess he didn't like what was being said, so he just took my phone to end the conversation and threw my phone.
And threw it where?
On the ground.
What happened to it?
The screen cracked.
Is that the phone?
No.
So what happened to the phone?
It was broke. It was like the screen broke, and it was ink on the screen.
So what did you do? Did you get a new phone?
Yes.
When?
The next day.
You have a receipt?
I don't have the receipt for the new phone I brought, but I have a receipt for the phone he broke.
No, I need a receipt for the new phone.
Well, I don't have that, ma'am.
Well, then you don't have a case with regard to the phone. What's next?
He broke my necklace.
He broke your necklace. And when did he break your necklace?
Around the same time.
Well, tell me about it.
So this was the event at the baby shower. So he didn't like.
So it was at the baby shower?
Yes.
Was it the same baby shower?
Yes. I made a joke and he didn't like it. So I was like, he's only here because I like made him come. And then he was like, no, I'm here because I love you. And then he grabbed my neck and pulled me closer to try to kiss him, and I didn't want to do that. So my necklace broke.
And this all happened in?
It all happened around this
January of 2022.
Yes.
Mr. Neal, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you remember the date of the baby shower?
Absolutely.
What's the date of the baby shower?
Oh, man.
Well, you said absolutely. Uncross your arms. What's the date of the baby shower?
I think it was like January 7th.
In whose house?
Of family members.
From January 7th, 2022, Mr. Neal, up until today's date, were you and the plaintiff intimate? Shh. Now, look at me. Is not an answer. That's either a yes or a no. You should remember that.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. And if I were to ask you the same question, Miss Finley, between January when he tried to pull you close and to kiss you and broke your necklace because you didn't want to kiss him, have you and the defendant been intimate?
No.
Yeah, I don't believe that. In any event, whether I believe it or not, you have no case against him. Your case is nonsense. I wrote nonsense when I read it. I still believe it's nonsense.
But are you
Your
sure?
case is dismissed. We're done. Thank you.
Case is closed. This court is adjourned.
I really didn't like it.
I'm feeling the way I look good, man. You know, everything's copacetic.
Because he hates himself.
You know, when you do things, you know, out of spite, you never prevail, you know?
I didn't tolerate it.
Oh, she lied. She, defamation of character. You gonna sit up there and tell him you're not intimate with me. Look at me. How you not gonna be intimate with me?
I hope he just get his life together.
Oh, we keep our space and we continue, gravitate in different directions?
I've been moved on.
Oh, I'ma always be there. We're gonna co-parent regardless, but other than that, significant other, nah, I don't entertain that no more.
I feel like because he's in a position where he has nothing, so he wants no one to have anything.
Back in the wind. That's the way I like it. Yeah.
I think that case can be summed up in a moment. You asked the defendant, do you know when your child's baby shower was? And he said, absolutely. He said, okay, what's the date? Let me think about it. That was it.
Yeah. That was a funny moment. That's going to be a TikTok moment. There was a dog fight.
Yes.
And I had the bat, and I'm screaming at him, go home! My son is standing there screaming, hit him!
Your dogs went on their property.
Correct, after their dog growled at my dogs.
Dogs growl. That's what dogs do.
This is Judy Justice. Ethan Shepard is suing his neighbor, Joseph Hale, for vet bills and pain and suffering.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 3016, Shepard versus Hale.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Shepard, how long have you and Mr. Hale been neighbors?
About 3 years.
How long are you living in your property?
About 15 years.
So he's the newcomer?
Yes.
And you are neighbors, but you live across the street from each other?
Or next door.
Right next door?
Yeah.
Do you have a photograph of the property?
Yeah.
I'd like to take a look at it. Oh, there it is.
Okay.
Your house is on the right or the left?
My house is on the left.
And your driveway is all the way left. I see a car in your driveway. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Going into a garage area or the side of the house?
The garage is when it turns in. So
Yeah, okay. And the defendant's driveway is close to your house, is on your side of the house?
Yes.
Now, you each have dogs. You have a German Shepherd?
Yeah.
How old?
He's going to be 3. Wait, we got him in 2019. Right, 3? 4. Sorry.
Who's that?
That's my mom.
Yeah. Math. And you have 2 dogs?
Correct.
What kind of dogs do you have?
I have cane corsos.
Tell me what they look like.
They look like they're mastiffs.
Could you bring one up, Sarah, for me to take a look at? Sure. Unless you have a photograph.
I do.
She's going to show me anyway, because I know what a German Shepherd looks like.
Oh, a German Shepherd. I thought you were talking about.
No,
King
Corso.
Yeah.
Oh, they're big dogs.
Big guys.
Big dogs. How old are your dogs?
About 4 and 3.5.
Anyway, this is what the lawsuit is about. It is your claim that the defendant's dogs, while unleashed, came on your property, attacked your dog. Your dog was injured. You want the defendant to be responsible for whatever vet bills there were, and for punitive damages. You're suing him for $10,000. Defendant says that your dog actually came onto his property, and then they ran back onto your property, and that your dog was unleashed at the time that this happened. Now, the incident occurred on what date?
On March 5th, 2023.
According to what I read, you were going shopping with your mother or your grandmother? Your mother.
My mother. We're going to drive around the city, practicing for my driving test.
And you were taking the dog with you?
Yes.
And that was the plan. You were going to drive around, the dog was going to sit in the back seat or whatever. And you decided that you had to go to the restroom. So you went back into the house before you left.
Yes.
So your mother is here. And your mother's going to stand up now because your mother was there from the beginning. Your last name is?
Shepard.
Shepard. Miss Shepard, we're going to go to March 5th, approximately what time?
2:30.
I'd like you to go over to that photograph. Now, you were leaving the house with your son. He said, I have to go back into the house to go to the bathroom, and you were taking the Shepard with you. Show me where you were getting into the car.
So my car was parked here. Buck and I came out of the front door, and we're standing about here. Buck went into the yard about right here, was smelling around.
Just a second. So let's do this slowly.
Okay.
You come out of the house with Buck.
Yeah. So we walked across the driveway.
Yes.
Into the front yard about here.
No, that's not what you said a moment ago. A moment ago, you said you were standing here and Buck walked over to the grass. That's what you said a moment ago.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I want you to be very, very careful.
Okay.
Let's be very careful because I'm creating a picture in my mind, and I don't want the picture that you create for me to be different from what actually happened.
Okay.
Do we understand each other?
Yeah.
You walked out of the house with Buck.
Yes.
You were going to go in your car.
Yeah.
You were standing where?
I was standing here in the driveway.
You were standing in the driveway, and the dog
walked into the yard about here.
Okay, to relieve himself.
He was just smelling.
Smelling?
Yeah.
Okay, and at that time, the dog was unleashed.
Correct, because we were about to get into it.
Not because.
Okay.
The dog, a big dog, was unleashed.
Yes.
Okay. And so now he's in the middle of the yard, unleashed.
Correct.
And what happened next?
I walked onto the grass by the dog. I was going to start putting him in the car. I turned.
Did you call him? Did you call him to come to you?
No, I was standing next to him.
No, you weren't. You were in the driveway. You said you started to walk over. You said you started to walk over.
Correct.
And I said to you, did you call him first because you're standing in the driveway? Did you say, Buck?
No.
Well, how are you going to get him? You're going to grab his collar? How are you going to grab him to put him in the car?
Ethan Shepard claims his neighbor, Joseph Hale, owes for vet bills and pain and suffering. Joseph is countersuing for damages from an assault with a baseball bat.
Now, I said to you, did you call him first because you're standing in the driveway? Did you say, Buck?
No.
Well, how are you going to get him? You're going to grab his collar? How are you going to grab him to put him in the car?
I walked to him to bring him to the car. I didn't call his name. I just walked to him.
And how are you going to bring him? I mean, you know, when I
he's
say...
He's going to follow me to the car.
Well,
he knows we're getting him. He knew we were going to get into the car.
Well, you know, he didn't know you were going to get into the car if you called him.
I didn't have time to say anything.
Well, you had time to walk over. Instead of walking over, why don't you just call him? You're closer to the car from the driveway than you are going to the grass. That's what I want you to be really careful about, Miss Shepard. I want you to be really careful about what you say to me because I'm a dog owner. Okay. I've had puppies that I don't trust outside by themselves. And then when they get older, if I was standing in the driveway and my dog, according to you, knew we were going in the car, I would have said, Buck, let's go. That's just normal for a dog owner, for a dog that's 4 years old. Buck, let's go. Not walking over and leaning over and grabbing him because he's unleashed by a collar, which I assume he had on, to walk him over to the car. Doesn't make sense to me. Okay. Let's continue with this.
Okay.
So now the dog is unleashed. You're walking over on the grass.
Correct. And I'm standing next to Buck. I'm walking towards him, looking out towards the street because I'm walking forward. I see Bruno, the black dog, look at us. He takes off running around our little fence here and starts heading over to where I am standing with Buck. I start screaming, no, no, Buck, no, no. Buck turns and sees Bruno. Bruno is on him. They're wrestling. They're chasing. They're running to our porch. I'm running behind them, screaming. I run inside my house, grab a bat. We have bats at our front door because there's a lot of homeless people, and we have to protect ourselves. They've come to the door before. While I'm getting the bat, I throw off my sandals. My mom hears me screaming, who was in the living room. She stands up, goes to the door. Ethan was in the bathroom, going to the bathroom. They both run out into the front yard. I follow them out. When I come out, I now see Joe.
Who's Joe? Raise your hand.
Oh, I'm sorry. Joe, our neighbor. He is now in our yard. The female dog, Beulah, is on Buck. They're fighting.
Show me where.
By my car. This isn't my car. This is my dad's, but my car was here. They're fighting by my car. The dogs are biting. Joe's on the ground in between the dogs with Beulah's collar. My son is standing there screaming. Bruno, the black dog that had started the fight, was now on our grass. He was headed home. He turned back and looked at me, and I had the bat, and I'm screaming at him, "Go home, Bruno, go home! Out of my yard!" Joe is saying, hit him, in the midst of him with the dogs fighting. I chased Bruno into his yard. So now Bruno is standing here.
Now this fence
he goes
is how
around the fence.
this fence stops on the property before the property ends.
Yeah, it goes, there's a couple feet where it's just free. There's like a meter thing in the ground.
Okay.
Yeah.
How high is that fence?
Maybe to my knees.
Oh, I see it, please.
Oh, here's
Okay. Like you can hop over it. I'm standing here yelling at Bruno.
Oh, this is an easy hop fence. This is
yes.
Yes, this isn't a high fence. This is a hop fence. It's not designed to do anything but visually separate the property. I understand.
Yeah.
Okay, let's stop for a moment. Go back.
Okay.
Now, Mr. Hale.
Yes.
I'd like you to go over to the same photograph.
Mm-hmm.
You were in your garage.
Correct, with the dog.
This is your garage.
Correct.
With your garage door open.
Correct.
With your dogs unleashed.
Correct.
Somehow your unleashed dogs got out.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So on Sunday, 2:30, March 5th, I was in my garage with the dogs, and I noticed their dog came to the fence line and came over. My dogs came to here. They're looking at each other. Their dog growls. The dogs run out, come over, start running over here. I give chase.
Okay, let's stop there. I want you to read that back to me, and I want you to listen carefully to what Whitney is going to read.
Okay, so on Sunday, 2:30, March 5th, I was in my garage with the dogs, and I noticed their dog came to the fence line and came over.
Came to the fence line. Just stop there 1 second. Show me the fence line. Show me came over. Careful. Show me came over.
Technically not came over it.
Okay,
on the fence
that's
line.
what I wanted to make sure. So technically, there's nothing technically. That's like basically.
Correct.
Their dog did not come on your property. Their dog came to the fence. Your dogs came to the fence, but their dog did not come on your property. Go back. That's either a yes or a no. Your dogs came around and went on their property.
Correct, after their dog growled at my dogs.
That's okay. Dogs growl. That's what dogs do. That's what dogs do. Your dogs got on to their property. And as a result of that, their dog was injured, and you're responsible for the vet bills. That's it. Easy. You're responsible for the vet bills. Their dog was unleashed. If you had said to me, yes, their dog came around and then scooted back to my property, we would have had a whole different scenario here. But their unleashed dog was on their property, and your unleashed dogs came on their property, and there was a dog fight, and you're responsible. Now, I also understand, sir, that this was not the first time that there has been an incident involving your two dogs.
Correct.
Is that right? The first one was several years before.
Correct.
And at that time, several years before, there was also some injury to the German Shepherd.
Ethan Shepard is accusing his neighbor, Joseph Hale, of owing for vet bills after Joseph's dogs attacked his dog. Joseph is countersuing. claiming he was assaulted with a baseball bat.
Now, I also understand, sir, that this was not the first time that there has been an incident involving your two dogs.
Correct.
Is that right? The first one was several years before.
Correct.
And at that time, several years before, there was also some injury to the German Shepherd.
Correct.
Well, do you own your house?
No.
You rent?
Correct.
How long have you rented there?
4 years.
You have a landlord?
Correct.
You have homeowners insurance?
I had renter's insurance.
You had renter's insurance. You don't have any more?
No.
You want to tell me why?
The renter's insurance, it lapsed 2 weeks prior to the first altercation. And then after that first altercation, the Shepherds, during all that, I paid the vet bills and took care of everything as I should.
From your insurance?
No.
Without your insurance?
Without my insurance, out of pocket. And then they got an attorney involved and tried to sue over that incident. Well, with that being said,
your insurance company dropped you?
Correct.
Well, of course, because when you applied for renter's insurance, did you tell them that you had 2 King Corsos?
Yes, they did.
And they probably upped your premium? Did they up your premium?
No.
Sarah Rose, there's a registry for the top, well, they're more than the top 5, but just give me the top 5 most dangerous dogs as rated by insurance companies.
So I have a Forbes article that discusses dog breeds that are banned by the top insurance companies, and it puts them percentage of banned lists with this breed.
Let's go to German Shepherds.
45% banned.
45%.
They're banned 40% of the time by insurance companies.
40.
45.
45. And what about King Corsos?
19% of the time they're dropped or not offered coverage due to the breed of the dog.
So I would suggest that you have these big dogs and you have no insurance anymore. Do you have a job?
Yes, I do.
Make a salary?
Yes.
You know, something happens, they can attach your salary. Something happens with those 2 dogs, they can attach your salary. So you can't be cavalier about these large dogs that have already showed a propensity that they can be violent. That's on you. You know, it's one thing, and believe me, I'm not minimizing the fact that a dog was injured, but it could just as well have been a small child that ventured on to your property. You have to keep those dogs in check all the time. You too. There's a reason why you're supposed to have dogs under your control at all times. And I say this, especially big dogs that can cause serious damage. Now, what were your vet bills?
Total of $377.33.
I'd like to see them.
Sorry.
Just a little comic relief for me. Could you tell me how $322.90 translates into $10,000?
For emotional distress. For
Whose?
attacks. Mine.
Whose? For yours?
Yeah.
You were in the bathroom.
No, I came out during the fight.
I know.
Okay.
$322.
Okay.
That's on your team. You have a counterclaim for $10,000.
Yes.
And your counterclaim is that while you were trying to separate these dogs, you got bit.
I did get bit on my hands and wrists, and I have pictures.
And why do you think he's responsible for that?
It was their dog that bit.
Who cares? The incident was, put your hand down. The incident was precipitated by your dogs not being under your control. And if you got into the mix and try to separate them and their dog bit you, well, that's what happens. That's why you should keep your dogs on leashes. I would like you to walk over to that photograph and point out to me on the photograph where you were when your hand got bitten.
I was right here.
You were on their property, right?
Correct.
Now you understand? Now, if you had been on your property and their unleashed dog followed you back to your property and you were on your property, I'd hear you. But you're on their property. You were getting your dogs back in between the dog fight. Counterclaims dismissed. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $322. We're finished. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Well, I'm just happy it's over and we get to go back to being neighbors.
I think it was fair that he had to pay the vet bills, but I think the emotional distress could have been given a little bit as well.
I dove into the middle of the dog fight and separated my dog from both dogs fighting, and I brought my dog back onto the property.
Traumatic. Seeing my dog get attacked for the second time by these same dogs and having to live it all again?
Their investigation was to see who was at fault, but both dogs were off leash, so they deemed no one at fault.
I think it was fair. I just wish that we could have touched base on the main reason why we're here. It was my son's emotional distress. He had to see a psychologist. Seeing our dog in distress and his demeanor had changed. I'm happy with her ruling, but I just wish we would have had a little more say.
That was from the first altercation 2 years ago. He was bitten in a dog fight. We did not determine if it was my dog or his dog.
They came out because we felt that if the dogs needed to be taken, or we just felt like it was the right thing to do, that they needed to come out.
Well, we just both keep our dogs on a leash and stay away from each other.
I know that list was a little confusing, but I wanted just to read it word for word. I guess the way Forbes had it illustrated was just the percentage of those types of dogs that are banned on the top insurance companies' lists as far as home insurance, renter's insurance. So I'd assume German Shepherds came up higher just because they're more known or
probably more popular
breed.
Popular breed.
But King Corsos were right up there. I'd be scared of both dogs if they came running in my yard.
Yeah, it's so frightening, and I love dogs, but I'm not a big dog lover.
You're a small
I'm
dog.
a little dog person, because if they bite you, they can't kill you. They can nip you and, could be uncomfortable for a couple of days. But I would be petrified if 2 Cane Corsos came running in my direction and nobody was in tethered control of them. And people think, their dogs are wonderful with them, they're gentle, but this defendant had a history with his dogs. He actually paid out of pocket a couple of years ago for injuries that his dogs caused. Anyway, you have a big dog, you're supposed to have big responsibility. You want less responsibility? Get a Chihuahua.
क्या आपने कभी किसी ऐसी जगह का तस्वर किया है जहां तालीम के पर्दे में इसरार छिपा हो? पैरामेड, एक नाम जो शायद आम लोगों के लिए ईम सिर्फ एक इंस्टीट्यूट हो, लेकिन जिन्होंने यहाँ वक्त गुजारा है वो जानते हैं कि इस इमारत की दीवारों में कुछ तो है। थी तो ये सिर्फ एक तालीमी इमारत नहीं थी, कुछ ऐसा जो सिर्फ सुना जा सकता है, महसूस किया जा सकता है, मगर समझा नहीं जा सकता। कहा जाता है कि IM इन पैरामेड की बुनियाद जब रखी गई, बल्कि उसके नीचे एक खफिया सरंग मौजूद थी जिसे अंग्रेज़ों ने अपने राज छुपाने, कैदियों को मुंतकिल करने और शायद कुछ काले तजर्बात के लिए इस्तेमाल किया। वक्त के साथ वो सरंग बंद कर दी गई, लेकिन क्या वाकई वह मुकम्मल तौर पर बंद है? रात को वहाँ से कदमों की छाप, दीवारों पर अंगुलियों के निशान और कभी कभार हल्की सी सरगोशी किया, ये सब किसी कहानी का हिस्सा हैं, या फिर कुछ ऐसा जो वाकई मौजूद है? इंस्टीट्यूट में एक लाकर है, नंबर 27। ये लाकर कभी नहीं खुलता, न उसकी चाबी है, न रिकॉर्ड में उसका जिक्र, लेकिन हर साल जैसे ही नया बीच आता है, कोई न कोई तालिब इल्म दावी करता है कि उसने उस लाकर से रोशनी निकलते देखी है। कुछ कहते हैं उसमें एक नायाब आयुर्वैदिक नुस्खा छुपा हुआ है जिसे एक कदीम वैद्य ने अपनी जान बचाने के लिए वहाँ रखा था। दूसरे कहते हैं ये रोशनी दरअसल एक रूह की अलामत है जो अब भी कुछ कहना चाहती है। क्या आपने कभी इस लाकर के करीब से गुजरते हुए सर्दी की लहर महसूस की है? प्रोफेसर शर्मा एक ज़हीन, खामोश तबा और मेहनती उस्ताद थे। वो इंस्टीट्यूट के सबसे राजदार इंसान माने जाते थे, लेकिन एक दिन वो अचानक गायब हो गए, बगैर किसी इत्तला के। न उनका फ़ोन मिला, न उनकी गाड़ी और न उनका पता। उनकी तहकीकाती डायरी आज भी इंस्टीट्यूट की लाइब्रेरी में रखी है। करता क्यों? एक ऐसी डायरी जिसे कोई भी उठाने की हिम्मत नहीं, क्योंकि उसका आखिरी सफ़हा फाड़ा गया है और कहा जाता है कि जिसने वो सफ़हा पढ़ने की कोशिश की वो पागल हो गया। क्या प्रोफेसर शर्मा ने कोई ऐसा राज जान लिया था जो दुनिया के लिए बहुत ख़तरनाक था? रात के वक्त इंस्टीट्यूट के एक मखसूस क्लास रूम नंबर 113 में रोशनी जलती है। हालांकि इस वक्त ना कोई क्लास होती है, ना कोई प्रोफेसर, लेकिन कुछ तलबा ने दावी किया कि जब वो गलती से इस क्लास रूम के पास से गुजरे तो उन्होंने अंदर बैठे तलबा की आवाज़ें सुनी और एक उस्ताद की आवाज़ जो कुछ पढ़ा रहा था। जब वो अंदर गए तो कमरा बिल्कुल खाली था, लेकिन डिस्क पर ताज़ा लिखाई मौजूद थी। کیا یہ کسی دوسری دنیا کی کلاس ہے یا کسی ایسی بستی کی جو اب بھی علم کا پیاسا ہے؟ پیرامڈ کے کیڈ اور لیب میں ایک مریض کی فائل IMN ہے جس کا کیس کبھی بند نہیں ہوا۔ نام ہے روی۔ کہتے ہیں روی کا جسم تدفین سے پہلے غائب ہو گیا تھا۔ کوئی نہیں جانتا وہ کہاں گیا یا کیسے، لیکن اس کی فائل آج بھی لیب کے رجسٹر میں کھلی ہوئی ہے۔ کئی بار طلباء نے خود دیکھا کہ رجسٹر میں اس کا نام خود بخود لکھا جا رہا تھا۔ کچھ نے دعوی کیا ہے کہ انہوں نے رات کے وقت ایک سایہ دیکھا جو لیب میں داخل ہو کر ایک مخصوص ٹیبل کے پاس جا کر رکھ گیا اور پھر غائب ہو گیا۔ کیا روی آج بھی انسٹیٹیوٹ میں موجود ہے؟ کیا وہ کوئی پیغام دینا چاہتا ہے؟ یہ تھے آئین پیرامڈ کے وہ راز جو صرف دیواروں کے درمیان دبی سرگوشیاں نہیں بلکہ کچھ ایسی حقیقتیں ہیں جو شاید وقت کے ساتھ سامنے آ رہی ہیں۔ کیا آپ نے کبھی ان میں سے کسی راز کو خود محسوس